Meeting. Cool. Welcome everybody to day 7, I believe. Yeah, Tuesday of week 2. Okay. It's going to start with question of the day. So today's question of the day is if you could build an app to solve any problem, what would it be? It could be anything. If like complexity wasn't an issue. So like if you could build anything, what would it be? Um, I'd say to start out, I'd say I'd build like a bunch of different games that I could play offline on my phone. So I've noticed, and I think this is almost the exact same answer as I gave last time I asked this question because I haven't done it yet. But I've noticed that on like the App Store, when you download like games on your phone, like that you want to play on the, let's say on the plane or whatever, it's like almost none of them you can use offline. You have to be connected to the internet. And then there's always ads. Like there's so many ads. Like I'm finished this level. Okay, here, watch this ad. And I just think it's so annoying. And so I would probably build some games that I could play and other people can play without having to worry about that. Like Tetris, for example. Like the main Tetris application on the App Store, every level you finish, you get an ad. And I just think like, why are you doing that? I understand kind of, but yeah, that's what I would build anyway. Cool. Matt, you are the first one on my screen, so please take it away.
What was the question again?
Yeah. If you could build an app to solve any problem, what would it be? It'd be anything. And like disregarding complexity.
Um, I I'd have to say the same thing as like what you said.
Yeah.
Like try like um playing games on your phone for like people who like to travel a lot. When they're bored on the plane and they don't need internet as well. Yeah, I'd also say the same thing for that one. Junior.
Something that actually like to work on when the class is done is over the past weekend we held a volleyball tournament. There's a lot of scoring of the games and whatnot, and putting all the teams in order and just figuring out playoff brackets. So I remember I was talking to some of the other coaches, and yeah, it'd be a problem that I'd like to tackle once I get the skill sets or whatnot. I don't know how big the project is, but hopefully I can make a dent in doing something like that. Kiko.
Hey, sorry guys, my camera's not working. I'm trying to figure it out on my laptop right now. What was the question again?
Yeah. If you could build an app to solve any problem, what would it be?
Damn, that's a hard question because there's an app for everything. Um, darn. Uh, you know what's interesting is I have this one app that I use. I've been trying to do a time lapse of the moon when it's setting, and it's the hardest thing in the world. But it's an app that shows me where and align, like it's like a stargazer app. Like when you point your phone in a certain direction, it shows you the constellations and formations in the sky. But this one, it shows you where the sun's pattern and cycle is going, and also the moon, so I can time exactly where I want to take this time lapse and set myself up for it. But what it's missing is like latitude and longitude lines and grid lines on it. And there's this like it's like a stargazer app, but what I would want to do is make, or I don't know if they have it yet, but what I would want is how a moon cycle like really does phase out tide cycles, because it's all together, it's one peaceful harmony, and it's the craziest thing in the world, you know? But I just want something to just be like, okay, yeah, the moon's setting here, the tide's gonna be this and whatever. I'm pretty sure that it's all there. It's just I haven't found one yet that's to like I use Windy app. I don't know if any of you guys know what that is. It's like a weather app, but it's top notch. It shows you everything, like even the thermal grading style maps, like when there's storms around. So it's pretty intuitive too, and it kind of reads your mind and how it sets it up the way you like use the app, which is pretty cool too. I would kind of match it to that, but moon cycles, not weather. Sorry, I'm gonna figure out my camera, dude. Sorry.
All good, all good. That's a really solid. That's a probably the best idea I've ever heard, I think, from one of these questions I've asked. That's really cool, actually. Super cool. Cool. And Adrian.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Man, that's a hard question because I have like multiple projects in mind, but I think the best one I have right now is like I don't know, like a live leaderboard. Like make it really nice. You know when you guys go to like the arcade and stuff? Let's say you go watch, or let's say you're just like scrolling through the arcade cabinets in the fun fair, and you see like those leaderboards and the character on the side, and then it just slowly scrolls up. You would see that in Tango theaters when they like had Tekken 5, the arcade cabinet on the side, and it would just have everyone's leaderboard and score and stuff like that. But I want to do that for the fighting game community here. So like I would probably make a website, and like their tournament placing kind of um influences their place in the leaderboard, and it would live update as we go. And then I'm just thinking of how the GUI would look like, because I've seen a graphic that I want to copy. I'll paste it later to you, Leon, because I want you to see it. Or I'll just put it in the Slack later. But I want to try to mimic that if I can. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Solid. And Lana. Super cool, Adrian.
So, I think the last time I answered this question, I said like a website that makes it easier for name changes, like when you get married type stuff. But I think like somebody told me that there's already a website like that. I think I think I want to do I just showed my sister's off island for college and like it's kind of scary in the States. So I sent her this app that I also downloaded that shows you like sex offenders like and where they like are located, and it shows you like what their charges were or like what degree their charge was. And so I noticed that it didn't have any record for like ones on island because I guess like we're too small. So maybe like to do one that has for Guam as well, you know? And it shows their face, it shows their like age, name. It's pretty cool. So yeah, something like that. Keep keep everybody safe, aware.
Solid. Super cool. I like asking these questions because I like to see, I don't know, it's always cool to hear all the different ideas out there because people are just so creative and just things I never thought of. So really cool. Thank you all for sharing. Okay. So then for hotkey of the day today, I'm going to share my Okay, so for hotkey of the day, it's kind of not a hotkey, it's more of like a VS Code like button that you can click. And so one thing that I like to do sometimes is use this little book icon right here. And so we can see when I hover over it, it says, sorry, it says split editor right. It's basically gonna make it so that way there's two different sides to it. And the reason why I like using this is let's say on one side, so if I had like multiple files here, so I'm gonna create a new file, practice 2.rb. So if let's say I'm trying to reference something in a different file, or like for example, for you guys, if like we went through a specific concept one day and you want to make sure that you kind of can take a look at it as like you're working on something. So I would have both open. And like so for example, on this side, I can see that here's the code that I want to look at, and here's where I would be writing the code or whatever, doing whatever it is I want to do. And there's many different use cases for it, but the basic idea is that you're able to have two different windows open within this one VS Code, I guess, instance. So that way you can look at different files, or really, if you wanted to, you could also look at the exact same file. And so technically, this is at the bottom on line 247, and this one, if I wanted to, I could see 247, but I could also scroll to the top. And so cool, I could see like different parts of my same file or go to a different file if I wanted to. And so I like using this. So as I mentioned, it's this little book icon. And if I click it again, I can make three, I can make four. I don't know how many I could make. I've never went more than this, but yeah, so I like using this. I don't think I'll ever go more than two usually. I think one time I've used three, but really like at that point it's like screen space gets too small. And so I like using it for just specifically two different windows. So yeah, that's the kind of not necessarily a hotkey, but it's more of a little button right here. So usually the button to show you guys, usually it's right there. And so you'll just see this little book icon to kind of split the editor kind of down the middle. So let me share that in hotkeys of the day. Hotkeys. I even share a little screenshot of what it looks like. All right, cool. The other thing I quickly wanted to touch on before we move on to kind of reviewing the homework is I had to change what the class recordings bookmark looks like. I had to change it because the other one, like if we're not using the paid tier, it doesn't allow us to edit it. And this is the free version of Slack. We don't use any of the features other than I guess that for the paid tier. And so I had to change it to be this canvas thing. And so if you click on it, it's the exact same thing for the most part. It's literally just this, it opens up this little tab, I guess. And if you click on it, it's the exact same thing. I can click on it and it'll open up directly to the YouTube link for it. So I just wanted to share that quickly, like yesterday's recordings right there, et cetera, and kind of go on going on. And so all of the recordings will be here to make sure that you guys can view it anytime that is anytime you guys would want or need to. But I just wanted to make sure I shared that. That's why it looks a little different. But yeah, other than that, it's exactly the same. Quickly just wanted to share that. Cool. So the last, or actually now to kind of go through the homework real quick. So the homework was, where did I paste it? All right. So move the view items logic into your own view items function. And so I kind of want to let one of you guys kind of show us your solution of how you guys did it. So if we have any volunteers, no volunteers, I'll kind of choose randomly. Any volunteers to show their solution?
I could show mine.
All right, cool. All you.
All right, let's go see. Um, okay, so here's the add item, the remove item, and the view item.
Mhm.
So that's the function or the method. So here's the regular code, the four, the three, which is what we were trying to do for homework, right?
Mhm.
So here's the original code that I had, and I just commented it out just so I don't get lost and everything. And then I called the function over here with shopping list. So this is the was it the argument? This is not the argument. This is the
Yes, the argument.
this is the argument that's going into the function. So it calls it, it inputs this, and it throws the shopping list into here. So if this comes in, and I basically just cut and paste what was down in the other one over here, but I did have to change the this one to be list to match with this. So list is empty, it'll show this. Else list each with index do the items in the list with the index number. And then when you run it, it looks pretty good. You guys can see all of this, right? So I don't know. Yeah, I think it runs. No, I guess it doesn't. Or no, I'm sorry. I was running this one. for today. But
Gotcha.
yeah. But yeah, that's what I did.
Super cool. Solid. The only feedback that I can give on this, everything looks solid. The only thing that I would say is to highlight all of this and tab it back one time. And the reasoning behind that for me is to make sure that it's all like within, so technically once we go into like a function or something like that, it's one tab this way. And so technically all of those could go back one. And so what you could do is you could highlight all of it, highlight up from 152 to 146 since you already did 145, and then do command and then left square brackets.
Left square brackets. Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Solid.
Got it.
And so
Left square
brackets would
brackets.
make it go the right, left square brackets would make it go left.
Okay.
Solid.
Right.
Super
Okay.
cool. Well, thank you for sharing your solution. All right, cool. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen again. And before we kind of dive into the next stuff, I quickly wanted to do a little bit more review with regards to functions. And also, um, one of you guys had some really good questions about the way things work and why things won't work certain ways and stuff like that. And so I quickly wanted to kind of go through these and to make sure we're all on the same page with all this stuff because I this is something that I didn't explicitly go through, and so I want to make sure that we can kind of go through it so that way everyone's on the same page. Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna start with, we'll start with kind of so there's kind of three different things that we're gonna work through here. Why can't sum equals zero? So we have sum equals zero here. Why can't it be outside? That's the first one. The second one is gonna be why can't we use numbers here? Why we can't do that? That's two. And then the third one is why we can't print out sum outside here. So this is kind of the three things we're going to cover. And we'll start with the simplest one first. So why can't this be numbers? Um, the real answer is it can be numbers. However, it can get really confusing really fast if we use the variable numbers. And so to show you guys this working, so first, so this is a function called sum array. It takes an array and it's going to return the sum of all of the numbers in that array together, basically. It's going to return the total or the sum of it. And so let's just make sure it works. If I run Ruby, the name of the file, practice one, we see, oh, sorry, do I have something else? Let me do that. Let me run it again. Cool, we get 16. So that means that if I add a 4 here, I should get 20. I just want to make sure it's working. All right, cool. We see it's working. It's working as we expect. And so now, just to show you guys that this can be numbers, I'm going to change these to numbers, run it again, and we should still see 20. However, the reason why I highly recommend to not use numbers in this specific situation is because we're using the variable numbers somewhere else in this same file. If we weren't using this variable numbers, like if this was called num or nums or whatever, if it was called almost anything else, or pretty much anything else, then I'd say, yeah, by all means, feel free, use numbers here. However, because we're already using it, that's where I highly recommend to not use it. So that way there can be no confusion between what the variable that's being used outside of this function and what this variable it is that we're using inside the function. That's the whole idea with it. And so as we can see, it doesn't break if we do use it. But again, just for readability and for you to better, you and anyone that is that you're working with to better or have an easier time understanding what each variable is. That's why I recommend that you use something else. So for example, I'm going to change it back to nums. And I'm gonna run it just to make sure it works. Cool. Works as we expect. All right, cool. So that kind of answers the simplest one. The next thing is why we cannot set sum equals zero outside. So basically, why can't we do that? Because we create the variable, and then from there, why can't we just like create it outside, or technically it's called declare it outside, and then from there use it within the function. So the reason we cannot do this, and let's just to show you that it breaks, all I did was comment that out and uncomment this. So we can see undefined method plus for nil. And to give a better error, I'm going to do this. I'm going to comment everything out. And I'm just going to print out sum. So because technically we create it here. So this should be something. It should print out 0. If I run this, okay, cool. This is a nicer error to me to explain why we cannot do this. So undefined local variable or method sum for main, name error. And it says on line 186. Technically, it says 186 because that's where we call it. That's actually not a good error, right? Or 184, technically right there, 184. And so the reason why we cannot use sum equals 0 out, we cannot create it outside is because a function only has access to what we create inside the function or what is passed in as a parameter. If we don't pass in a value as a parameter, the function will know nothing about it. And so that's why we have to create this sum inside the function to make sure that we can use that value to keep track of it. And that's the exact same reason in our shopping list when we're doing these when we are doing these add item, remove item, etc. That's exactly why when calling the function, we have to pass in the shopping list. Because technically we create the shopping list. Where do we create it? We create it right here. We create it outside of everything, outside of the loop and outside of our functions. However, our functions don't have access to that. So that's why when we call our functions, we have to explicitly pass our shopping list into whatever function it is that we're doing. So that way that function can manipulate it or do whatever it is we need to do to it. Okay, cool. So that is the reason why we cannot do sum equals 0 outside. Or for this matter, use any variable from outside inside here unless we pass it in as a parameter. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, cool. Let me know if you guys have any questions on that. Happy to walk through that slower or better in another example or anything like that. And that also solves this problem. The reason why we cannot do p sum here is because if we do this, technically sum doesn't exist. Sum is only available within the loop. That's because, or because we, I mean, not in within the loop, within the function. If I try to run this, we see undefined local variable method sum. Same exact thing, but this time it's on 188. And it's because outside of the function, it has no idea what sum is. It's only within the function. Cool. Sorry, I just want to check one more time. Any questions about these ideas? All right, cool. Okay, so we're gonna do something. We're gonna do a quick review of functions real quick. This is gonna be something that I used to do, that I did a bunch with actually Lana's class. That Lana thankfully reminded me that I want to do a little bit of practice with you guys to make sure that we fully understand functions. And so we're going to do an example. Everyone's going to kind of answer one question or solve this one time. So I'm going to create a function. Actually, let's go and we'll just use this exact function for now for the first example. Okay, let me delete this. And I'm going to delete these to kind of get rid of that. Okay. Cool. So my first question, and so what I'm going to basically, what I want us to get out of this is I want to make sure that you understand exactly what this value is that I'm highlighting, or whatever it is that I'm saying. Like, for example, if I say what is sum, you should say sum is a variable that we declared within this function and it equals 0. Or if I say what is nums, you should be able to tell me exactly where nums on line 180 is coming from. And so that's kind of what I want to get out of this. And so because technically, like, there's kind of like it's kind of like spaghetti almost sometimes, where it's like it's going from here to here to here to here, etc. And so I want to make sure that we properly understand where it is these values are coming from. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is, what is numbers? Where is this value coming from? And feel free, anyone can answer. And then from there, when I choose the next thing, I'm going to choose someone else can volunteer until we kind of get through everybody. Okay, so what is numbers on 186 and where is this value coming from?
Whatever the value of the index in the array.
Whatever the value of the index in the array. Are you
The top brackets, the top square brackets.
oh, okay. So it's going to be this basically.
Yeah.
Correct. Exactly. Yes. That's perfect. So the next Great. Thank you, Kiko. The next one that I'm gonna ask is what is nums and where is this coming from? Anyone but Kiko.
So nums is the parameter
Perfect.
that's getting passed into the function.
Mm-hmm.
Originate, which in our case, we're passing in numbers, the argument that goes into the function that accepts the parameter, which we're calling nums.
Perfect. Exactly. And so what I want us to get out of that is this nums, yes, it is technically this. However, in reality, like to the computer, this and this are technically different. Because the way that it's working, as kind of both Kiko and Junior explained, is that we start with creating this numbers array. And so then we pass that numbers array as an argument when calling the sum array function. Then from there, then we have this parameter. So this argument becomes the parameter that this function takes in, which then eventually is going to be this, which is technically this, but it's technically a different object in a sense. It's the parameter variable that we're using within the function, not necessarily this exact numbers array. It's a little bit weird, but that's the way that the computer's working, is we're starting here, and then from there, okay, cool, we have this value, we pass it in this function, which becomes this, which becomes this, which eventually we're going to do each loop, which is this, which so now each variable num is going to be two, two, whatever, 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 and so on and so forth. Cool. Let's go and do like one or two more examples of this. And so I'm just gonna let's go find another function. Is this too zoomed out if I have it like this for you guys? Okay, cool. Let me know if it is. All right, so yeah, let's go and do this one. Let's go and do this one. All right, cool. So my next question is, let's see. Mm-mm. What is word? What is word? Anybody? Anybody except for Junior and Kiko? Adrian, you look like you unmuted real quick.
Yeah, I'm trying to word it. Um,
However you can best describe it. It doesn't need to be an exact like this. It's like it's whatever value this is, whatever. Like you can describe it however you want. What are you thinking? Walk me through what's in your head.
it's kind of like it's kind of like a function where it's if you see words dot each, um that's basically an action, and then the word is basically another. I'm not sure. It's like the another way of saying words dot each, so that way you can do another. That way you can make another function. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no
Unsure about wording this. Yeah.
worries. I think
Yeah.
where you're going with it. And so the way that I think of word as the variable that I'm going to use to keep track of each index or each element in whatever array it is that I'm looping through. That's kind of the way that I think about it. So I know I have this words array, which ultimately is technically it's going to be this names array. So technically, word is going to be the it's going to be the variable that we use to keep track of the value of whatever index it is based on how many times we've looped through this loop or this array. So that's does that kind of make sense, Adrian? Yes, yes, Junior.
So what if it wasn't an array? Would we I know it's probably a bad example. I don't want to
Go
confuse
ahead.
anybody, but
Go
like
ahead.
I just if it was like say we're passing in number and it was just one number. It wasn't an array. It was just an integer.
For
Would
sure.
word each do also work in that case, even if it wasn't an array, or would it? Like I don't. I can play around with it later.
No,
Just
no, no,
just
no.
kind of.
I like these questions. I like it. Let's try it. We can try it out. So what you're saying, so I'm just gonna create a new thing. So let's say we had def, or we'll use that exact same example and we'll just change it. Where are we at? This one. So let's change this to be like you said.
It would be 16. I don't know. Like yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna comment all of this out. I'll comment this out, and then I'm gonna say we're passing in num. And num, we're just gonna give it a value. Num equals, like you said, 16. And
Mm.
so you're saying, can we do like number dot each do, and I'm just gonna say like n, I don't know, end pn like that.
Yes.
So I think this is gonna break. I haven't tried doing an each loop on an individual integer, but I think this is gonna break because, and the way each loop works is it's trying to loop through like some data. It could be an array. It could be a hash in the near like later today or tomorrow we're going to go through another data structure which is a hash which is going to be used it's going to be using curly brackets. Oh, sorry. It could be but yeah, so it's going to loop through some data. Technically, like there's nothing to loop through when it's like an integer. And so I think this is going to break. I'm not 100% sure. I've never tried it, but it doesn't hurt to try it. Yeah. So you cannot use each on an instance of an integer. So basically there's functions that you can use on specific data types. And each loop is technically running a function. That's where it's like dot period each. And so technically you cannot do an each function or an each loop on an integer. And so that's why it would break. Yeah. Great question. All right, cool. Let me get rid of all that. Any other questions? I like those kind of things because I haven't tried that. I was pretty sure it was going to break, but I wasn't 100% sure. Yes, Ron.
So even though like your numbers, there's multiple numbers, one or multiple, it'll still break.
So you're saying if it was an array, basically, an array of numbers?
Yeah. Or
So if it was an array of numbers, it worked perfect. It worked perfectly fine. And just to show you, if I do like numbers equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so this is what you're saying, right?
okay, never mind. So yeah, that'll work because it's an array, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
If it's going to be like number equals 100 or something like that, this is where it'll break because it cannot loop through.
Okay.
We cannot use that type of function on this data type. So basically, the data type matters. It needs to be like an array. I
Correct.
think you could do it on a string. I think if we did like, let's try it out actually. So if I did something, because technically a string is an array. And to show you guys, I showed you guys this briefly before, but if I did like p names at 0, this should give me s. We see s, etc. And so technically a string is an array. It's just an array of characters. And so if I pass in names and it's the word something, I think, and here, let's instead of, I'm going to delete this, I'm going to comment out this condition, and I just want to do p word. So the way that I'm thinking this should work is we're passing in names as the argument. So we come up here, words is going to be something. And then from there, we're going to do words dot each do word. So this should basically word should be S, O, M, E, T, et cetera, et cetera. I think, I actually am not sure. Okay, so you can't do it on a string. So you can only do an each loop on a, what's it called? An array and then a hash, which a hash is what we're going to touch on. That's going to be the next data type that we're going to touch on. Yeah. Cool. Great questions. Great questions. Any other questions? All right, cool. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted, so we've went through almost everybody, I think. All right, cool. Matt, I have a question for you, Matt. Let's say, if I move these lines of codes, or these lines of code up here, Will this work still? What do you think? And why?
Um, no, because it's trying to uh mm, I don't know how to word it.
Yeah. Any
Is it
you say? What are you thinking? What's going through your head? You're correct with no, but why do you think that is?
it's because it's trying to I don't know the word. It's trying to it can't run because it the uh uh
You're right there. I know you're like right there.
uh
So we're trying to like, let's say use or call. So
it,
go ahead.
oh, I don't know how to word it. It's um
I got you. How, so the way that the way that I think about it is I cannot, and this is in general. This isn't specific to functions. This isn't specific to variables or arrays or anything like that. I cannot use this function or this variable until after I've created that function or that variable. Is that what you were thinking?
yes. I just didn't know
Yeah.
how to work because I think we tried to do that as well for the I think our problem from yesterday
Hmm.
and it didn't work. So I was trying to figure out a way how to explain it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how I would word it. It's like I cannot use this function because so when I try to use this function, it's gonna break because I haven't created this function yet, technically. This function is created below. And so it's like when you try to use it, it's gonna give you an error because like it doesn't know what that is because at this specific point in the code, it hasn't been defined. Yeah. So cool. Great work, Matt. And so I guess Ron, last one. I want to give this one to you. How do I fix this? How do I get this to work? I'm getting this error. How do I fix it? What do you think?
Since there's no what is it, function?
Hmm.
I mean, obviously we have to move these back down to where they were, but
Yeah,
it's because it's like, what is it? It prints in order, but it can't also print because this function wasn't created yet. So it has to be after um everything below it, if that
gotcha.
makes sense.
So what should I move? What do I move exactly? This line, all of these lines? What do you think?
I'm thinking 118.
118. I got you. Okay. Good.
And I don't remember if it matters where the names array is.
Hmm.
I can't recall if it matters where you put that.
Got you. So let's run this. And so to show you that it does matter where we put this, we're gonna move this down here. Will this work? What do you think, Ron?
No, thinking no.
Why not? Why do you think it's not gonna work? I'm gonna give you a hint. It's really similar to what we had up there.
Oh, because the array is what is it? Is it's after everything that we have put in here, so it can't really call.
Exactly. we create this array after, like we're trying to use it in this function.
But
We're
it's
trying to
yeah.
have it, but it's not, we haven't created it yet. And so I could move it literally as long as it's any line before it, it'll work. As long as it's any line before it, of course, it cannot be within the function as well. Like if I move it into the function and try to call this, now it's going to break because now technically names doesn't exist. Names is now something specific within this function. Okay, cool. Questions about these ideas with functions? All right, cool. Feel free, let me know. Let me, Lana, know if you guys have any questions about this stuff. I think that everyone here has a pretty solid understanding of it. So yeah, I think we're doing really, really good with that. So let's see. I'm gonna comment this out. The next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna give you guys another exercise for a function before we move on to the next thing. Okay, so I'm gonna go to exercises a minute. All right, cool. So for your exercise, I want you to create a method or a function called grade students. It takes in an array of student scores and it returns an array. Here, I'll actually to word this even to make it super clear and returns a new array. So it takes in an array of student scores and it returns a new array of grades, A, B, C, whatever, whatever, based on the scores. So basically, I should give it, so I should do like score, I should give it something like scores equals 100, 99, 80, etc. And I should return, it should return something like A, A, B, or something like that. Or like not technically it'd be a string. A, B. Sorry, like this. So this is the end goal. There's gonna be a function and you're gonna pass this in and it should return something like this. Here. All right, yeah. Yeah, whatever, I'll put that in there. Let me put comments. All right, cool. You guys are good to share your screen and try this out. I'll give you guys a little bit of time on this, maybe like 5, 10 minutes, and then we'll take a break and we'll come back and start something new.
Hey Kiko, for yours, try run Ruby and then the title of your file.
So, Kiko, for you, so technically, you can only run you can only run a file that's been saved. So this file we'll need to save it first, and then from there, it should work.
It did.
Or actually, here, why don't you click on this? Click on the that, yeah, and then from there, do like right click here or like double click or whatever to or you yeah click new file exactly, and then name it whatever it is you want.
Mm,
So make sure we don't use spaces and we use like underscore and underscore instead. Perfect. All right, cool. Yeah, and make sure you delete that. So double click on it or right click or whatever, and then click edit or rename. And so we're gonna remove the space between the E and the period.
oh shoot.
All good. Do controls, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then yeah, there you go. Cool. And go ahead and just like click out of it. All right, perfect. So now go ahead and write your, so you can go back actually to that file and you can copy it all and then paste it into that other one.
Oh shoot. What did I just do?
Do a control Z, control Z.
I just did. I erased it. I'll start over.
I'll get
My
out.
bad.
Okay, no, I'm good. Yeah, so just make sure you do it then in sushi practice. Make sure you do it in sushi practice, not in the untitled one. Adrian, you look like you're super close actually. There's like one character that you have to delete, if I'm being honest. It's like right there.
Is it this?
No,
Do I need to? Hmm.
it's here on this line, line 11.
Oh my God. Okay. I see it.
All right, there you go. Try it out. Try it out again.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's see what's this area. Oh my gosh, there's another one character thing.
Is there a way where you can just like, I don't know, I'm curious, but is there a way to like do like combine and replace on Ruby?
I think VS Code has that. Yes. It's like Control F.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. But
Oh, yeah, no, not do that.
so an easier way you could do it, go ahead and leave it as grades, because actually I think grades makes more sense. Go and do Control Z a couple times. All right, cool. So I'd say go ahead and just change this and add an S, because technically this is going to
Oh,
be an
okay.
array of grades. So to me, it makes sense to use grades versus grade.
There you go.
Solid.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. Hey, Matt, I would be careful just because you're calling the function grade students, but then you're also using grade students within, like you're using the same variable. Yeah, something like that. It could be anything you want, as long as it's different. I'm gonna give you guys a couple more minutes on this before we take a break. All right, let's go ahead and take a pause on this. We'll take a quick 10-minute break, come back at 7:12, and I'll give you guys a little bit more time on it. And before we kind of go through the solution together, or actually one of you guys will walk through the solution with us. All right, welcome back, everybody. All right. So I just added a part two. Part two is to update your function to return whether or not the grade is like an A plus, an A, or an A minus, etc. Same thing for B, C, etc. And so not just A, B, C, basically. And so that's kind of part two. If you're not done with part two, please obviously feel free to continue with the first part of it. Yeah. Also, I'm going to be opening up some breakout rooms. Might meet. We're just going to meet with some of you guys to see how it's going and say what's up. Okay, just a heads up on that. All right, cool. Lana and Ron should be here in a second. Do we have any volunteers for the solution? Any volunteers want to share their solution?
I can share.
Okay, cool. You can walk us through it. And just wait, give it a second. The breakout rooms are closing in like 30 seconds. So Ron and Lana should be here in like 20 seconds at most. So you can go to
Okay.
share for now, but yeah.
I wanted to ask, I'll ask when I share it too.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, go ahead and ask. What's your question?
oh, is there a better way to, because like all I could think of was just like put a lot of else if statements to put the A minus, B plus, etc. I mean, it works, but I was wondering if there's another way to shorten this to make it cleaner.
There are different things that you could do. I'm trying to think of the best way off the top of my head. Um, hmm, let me think about it. I'm gonna get back to you on that.
Yeah.
But for now, um, so Adrian is gonna walk through the solution with us, and then from there we can kind of go through a couple other things. All right, cool. So go ahead, Adrian, walk us through what is the exercise, what are you doing, and how to walk us through the code.
So, we're trying to, so the first thing I did was I just defined the grade students, grade underscore students, and then I just have another, I want to say function, for scores,
Parameter.
parameter, sorry.
All good, all good.
Um, then I have the grades equals the array.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm gonna be just coming out loud or just like thinking out loud.
Gotcha.
Um, this is would be the array where the output would be.
Correct.
Um, so then I put this, the scores dot each do score. So basically, we're just trying to start making this string from here. Um, so what I did basically is just I did a lot of if and else if going down the line. Like if the score is um greater than or equal to 97, the grades are going to be A plus, and then I go down the line from here until it hits F. Then I just end it here, and I put N here. I'll be honest, I'm not sure why we put grades here again uh, for the ending.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put end so that we can close it. And then from here, student scores. I just put a sample of all the scores, and then I just had it printed out. And then this was the result on the bottom, if you guys can see it.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid. I like it. I think it looks very uh easy to read, I guess, in a sense. It's like, okay, cool, we're gonna start at the top, and it's like, okay, if it's If it's above 97, then it's an A plus. If it's below that, or like it's above 93, it's going to be an A, et cetera, and kind of going down. So I think it's really readable, and I really like that. And so to answer your question, actually, if you can scroll down just a little bit to where you say where you do that scores or this grades. So the reason that we say grades here is because this is the value that this function returns. So technically, by default, if you look at all of our other functions, so for example, if we look here on the other side of the screen, we can see in this function, print uppercase, that we return a new array. That new array is all of the words in uppercase. So the reason why we have this last line before the function ends is returning, we're basically saying what this function returns to wherever it was called. And so, for example, print grade students, when we say print grade students, we're saying, hey, print, or you could use puts or p, whatever it is that you guys want to use. But basically, we're saying print out whatever this function returns. And so technically, by default, Ruby it's really nice. I guess it's really user friendly. We don't have to explicitly write return. If we do, whatever's the last object or whatever's the last value, it's just gonna return it. So you not putting return here versus us putting return on this side, it's the exact same thing. And so the reason why we have to put this value, this grades, is because we're telling this grade students function, this grade, like this grades object right here is what the function returns. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Cool. And actually, just to show you guys, so after grades on the bottom where you return it, click enter. I want you to create a new line after it. And I want you to type in quotes, I want you to make a string and I want it to just say something. And then I want you to rerun the function and see what happens. Actually, wait, before you do it, what do you think is going to happen? Adrian, what do you think?
Um,
Yes?
I don't, I think it's gonna break it.
Okay, let's try that. Try
Yeah.
that. See if it breaks. So it printed out something. Why is it printing out something? Does anybody have any ideas? It's not breaking, we're not getting any errors, but it's printing out something. Anybody have any ideas? Any anything? Anyone have anything that they any possible idea? Junior?
I think we were talking about the other day, it was if functions can return more than two things.
Mm-hmm.
So what I got from last time is if you don't put return, it just gets the last thing that you're saying to throw out or something like that. So in this one, the last thing it's saying to throw out is the quote unquote something.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put return in front of both of those, would it return both things?
It's going to return the first one. So for example,
Uh,
show you, Adrian, go ahead and put return on line 40, right before grades. Perfect. Go ahead and run this code again. So it returns that. Even if we were to put another return there, it's going to do the exact same thing. It's going to return the first one. As soon as it sees return, it's like, okay, break and return whatever's after the word return. That's the way
All
return
right.
works. Yeah. Sorry,
Sorry,
Adrian.
I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember by default Ruby returns,
Correct.
right? It has to, yeah. So
If
like,
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
um, if grades doesn't have return, but something is also there, um, sorry, I don't know where I'm going with this. I was just
You
thinking
guys,
like
what you're saying is
if
exactly right.
okay,
So by default, Ruby, if you don't write return, whatever the last thing that you're writing down, for example, it was something before when you so go ahead and delete return, delete that return. So the way this is going to work now is that Ruby or this function is going to return it's going to return a value. It's going to return something basically. And so if you don't explicitly write return, it's just going to return whatever the last thing in the function is. The last thing in this function happens to be a string that says something. So that's exactly why when you run this function or when you run the file and you call the function, it's gonna print out something. And I'm using the word something, it could be anything in there. It could be a number, but it's gonna return whatever the last thing in this function is. If you don't explicitly say return. If you said return, it's gonna stop wherever it is that you said return, and it's gonna stop the function and it's gonna return it. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you, Adrian, for sharing your screen. All right. Let's go ahead and actually, Adrian, could you share your solution in exercises? Just go and put like solution the same way I just kind of share the solutions. Go and put solution colon and then just share your code. And then let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 8:05 and we are gonna go through a new concept. We're gonna go through something called a hash. All right. All right, welcome back, everybody. Okay. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. All right, so we are going to go through a new topic. Actually, before we move on to this new topic, I'm going to highly recommend, as needed, I would recommend every day, like I said, go through deliberate practice, go to deliberate practice, and whatever it is that you're feeling unsure of, you can start with the basic ones. Okay, cool. So we were just doing arrays. This specific one is dealing with arrays and hashes. And so, for example, with these arrays thing that we were talking about, feel free if you want to go through like have more practice with arrays, that's this one. We also have custom methods or custom functions. And so everything that we were doing with regards to functions, you can kind of see it here. And these are like examples that you guys could do. Write a method that takes in a number and it returns the square root of that number. Then run that method and print out the result. And so for like if you want any more practice, which I would recommend everybody does practice more, come here to the deliberate practice and feel free to do any specific ones that you feel like you're weaker in, or in general, just I'd recommend kind of doing them all. And again, 5-10 minutes a day, maybe 15 at the most. Not looking for you guys to do hours at a time of this. Literally, just as you have a little extra 10 minutes, hop in here, figure out what it is you want to go through today, grab a few of them, and work through it. And so that's just my quick reminder about deliberate practice, just because I really genuinely recommend it. Okay, cool. So the next thing we're going to touch on is, so right now, the different data types that we know are strings, integers, floats, booleans, and arrays. And so we're going to go through a new data type. The data type that we're going to go through is something called a hash. And so it's going to be kind of similar to arrays, but it's going to be slightly different. And so to do a quick review of an array, let's say, I'm going to grab this array right here. Let's say I have this array. How could I print out, I want to print out banana. Someone help me out with that. How can I do that? Do a quick review of arrays before we move on. Anybody? I'm going to call someone random in a second. Adrian, you just look like
Junior types something out. He put fruits one. Fruits open bracket. One close bracket.
like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's try it out. So Ruby practice 2.rb. Nothing printed out. What do I got to do to fix this? What do you think, Adrian? Or anybody?
Can you put P before fruits?
Like that?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Perfect. We got banana. All right. So with that being said, how can I print out cherry? Can someone help me print out cherry? One more time. Anybody but Adrian.
Um, pea fruits, and then 2.
Perfect. All right, cool. Seems like you guys got this. Maybe the last thing, the last thing I want to do is how can I change? I want to change apple to be kiwi. So like I want to be able to print this fruits array out and I want it to be kiwi. How can I change this to kiwi? What can I do? And I'm gonna do p fruits, and then I'm gonna do it twice. I'm sorry, I meant to do it twice. So I'm gonna do it twice. And the first time I want it to say the original one. The second one, I want to change apple to kiwi. So how can I change this to kiwi?
Would we try to just put fruits at 0 equals kiwi in quotes?
Let's try it out. Perfect. Exactly. So basically, we're reassigning what this specific index is. Exactly. Cool. Thank you, Junior. All right. So we seem like we have a pretty good understanding, at least a general understanding of arrays. Yeah. Everyone feels pretty okay with arrays. All right. And we'll just keep that array right there. So that's an array. All right. So now let's go through a hash. So we're going to introduce this new data structure. And so an array, once again, we can think of it as an ordered list, and keyword ordered because the order of it matters. That's why we're able to do index 0, index 1, index 2, like fruits at 0, fruits at 1, fruits at 2 to grab any specific value. But it's kind of odd because it's like we need to know that index first in order for us to grab that. If we don't know the index, like if this was a list of a million items and I wanted to grab kiwi and I didn't know what index it is, I wouldn't be able to know. I would have to loop through it to find that specific kiwi, for example, that word. A hash is a way that we can find, as long as we know the name of the word, the key we're going to say in a second, then we'll be able to grab that value immediately. And so it'll make sense in just a second. So a hash is going to look something like this. So we're going to go, let's say person. Person equals, and then as I mentioned, we're going to use these curly brackets. And so the way we can think of a hash is a key value pair. So it's going to be like, for example, we're going to give it a key of, let's say, name. And then from there, we're going to give it a value of Leon. So this is a really simple hash. So we have this variable, we call the hash, we gave it the variable name person, and then we give it is a key value pair of name is Leon. And so let me just go ahead and let's print out person to see what it looks like here. And it looks exactly like what we expect, or kind of, it's slightly different. We see the colon on the other side. So basically, this is another way that we can write out this exact same thing. If I did instead, and I don't want to confuse you guys with syntax, but just to show you guys, since you guys will see that there, if I do this, so this syntax and this syntax is exactly the same. And actually, technically, there's one more syntax. We go person equals, and then we're going to go name Leon. So technically, all three of these are kind of all almost exactly the same thing. However, we're specifically, to keep it simple, don't even worry about that. All I need you guys to understand is there are other syntax for hashes. You guys will see it out, on Stack Overflow or online or whatever. But this is the syntax we're using. So we can see it's name. The key is name. The value is Leon. And so the way we can think of a hash, we can think of it kind of like a dictionary, where each key or word has a definition or its value. And so, for example, in order to look into, or let's do this, name equals Leon, and let's give it another value. We're going to go age equals, and then age, the value is 26. And then let's go like village is Barragata Heights. Okay. So now let's print this out. We see it's that same thing. It just has more values. And so kind of a better way to write this out to make it more readable is like this. Now we can clearly see that there's a key value pair for each thing. And so if I wanted to grab the name Leon, I wanted to grab this value, as long as I know the name, I can grab the value. As long as I know the key, I can grab that value. So it's like I know that a person has a name. So in order to print that out, I can just go colon name. If I run this, we see it prints out Leon. It wouldn't matter how big this hash is. This hash could have a million values in it. If I do person at name, I know that I'm going to get this each time. And just to show you guys, even if I was to move this below and run this again, it doesn't matter because we're using the key rather than using the index. So for example, for here, if I go p fruits at 0, and then let me comment this line out, this should get us apple. However, If I change the order of this and instead I put apple at the end, now if I run this, it's going to print banana because the order of the array matters. However, the order of the hash does not matter because we're specifically using key value pairs. As long as we have the key, we can grab the value. And that's the way that's the way hashes work. So with this in mind, how can I print out how can I print out the village? I want to print out Barragata Heights. Thoughts? Anyone? Not a trick question.
Would it also be P person and then the the brackets
Mm-hmm.
and then village?
Yep. So if we run this, perfect. We see Barragata Heights. Couple things I want to note here. We use square brackets when we're like trying to grab a specific value. We use square brackets regardless if it's an array or it's a hash. To create the hash, we're using curly brackets. However, when like getting a specific value, you're using square brackets. One thing to note. The other thing to note, the other thing to note, I guess, is that we use this colon. Because we're using age colon, it's like we use colon name. And the reason why we do that is because technically in the system it looks like this. This is just the cleaner, kind of like less typing way to do it. Because technically the actual way that this looks is more like this. It technically looks like that. And so that's why we do colon name versus just type. If we just put name here, let me comment this out. If I was to just put name, this is not going to work. It's like, hey, what is name? That doesn't make sense. You have to use the colon in order for it to work because that's the way that this key value pair for this hash works. Is that so? The other technicality is that this is a symbol. There's another data type called symbol. And really, it's just like another like it's like another way to write a string. So this is kind of just technically another way to write a string. The only time really that you're ever going to see it is with this specific hash, is with a hash. We're never really going to touch a symbol almost ever again, in a sense. I think maybe there's a few exceptions, but for the most part, this is the only place that you're going to go through it. That's why I never explicitly said it. So there is technically a symbol data type, and that is what this is. But in reality, I don't like to overcomplicate it. That's why just think of this as it's a hash. It's a key value pair. To call it, we use the key and we have to put that colon because that's technically what it is in the system because it looks like this. Sorry, questions about hashes. Okay, cool. I'm gonna give you guys an exercise. Slack exercises. All right, so, all right, cool. Yeah, I like this. We don't need to create a new file. All right, so you guys' exercise is create a hash representing yourself. It's gonna have keys for name, age, and hobby. And I want you to define the hash and access each value. By access, I mean print out. So you're gonna do something like this. So let me show the example. And actually after that, I'll add a part two. And then finally, print out a sentence with all your attributes, we'll call it, from the hash. And then here's the example. All right, cool. You guys are good to share your screen and try it out. There's a couple more minutes on this, and we're gonna move on to the next thing. Right. You guys are good to stop sharing your screen. All right, cool. And so, let's go ahead and go through the solution together. And actually, if we could have one of you guys to share you guys' solution. Anyone have any volunteers to share their solution? I'm gonna select, so I'm just gonna, hey Kiko, do you mind sharing your solution?
Man, you caught me on the fly. Yeah, hold on. Hold on. Uh, I hope this works. Okay, can you see what I'm doing?
Yes.
Okay. Um, See, I don't know what the heck.
Super close, actually. Okay.
So I followed the same formula. I'm just having trouble
Yeah, yeah.
figuring it out.
Here, so go ahead and
So
comment this out, actually. Comment lines
yeah.
57, 58, and 59. Yeah, comment that out. Actually, go ahead and delete those. Delete all three of those, because you already do it right there. Okay. And then make sure so you have your starting curly bracket, do your closing one right there on 56. All right, cool. And so now in order to access age, name, and hobby, instead of the curly brackets, make it square brackets,
No spaces?
no space. It won't break if you put a space, but the convention is to not. And then make sure you put a colon right in front of name. So it's going to be colon name, and then the same thing for age. You're going to do square brackets, and then it's colon age. And then change it from curly brackets to square brackets. Perfect. And then one more, just the inner one. All right, and go and delete the extra because it creates one for you. Go and yeah, delete that, and then try running this code. Perfect. All right, solid, man. Okay, cool. So you were able to create a hash. We see it right there for when you have the key age with the value 34, key name, value Kiko, key hobby, value flying drones. And then you're able to access each of the name and the age by doing P, the name of the hash, and then specifically we're using the symbol syntax. And so that's exactly why we're doing colon name with square brackets. And you do the same thing for age and you print it out. We see the values. Perfect. Cool. Thank you, man. All right. Does anybody have any questions on hashes so far? All right, cool. So let's go ahead and continue building upon this. And delete that. We don't need that. All right, so the next thing, now that we know how to access the values, now I want to figure out how can we edit or manipulate a value. What if, let's say, and then here, this is going to be kind of a, let's see what you guys think. How would I change, let's say I moved. I want to change this village from Barragata Heights to Jonia. How would I change? Because right now, again, if I run it, it says Barragata Heights, exactly like what we expect. But I want to change it to say Jonia. What do you guys think? Hint, it's going to be very similar to how we would change it using an array. Any ideas?
Would you just explicitly assign it like person bracket village equals agate or any other village?
Yep, exactly. So we can see we started with it being Barragata Heights, and then we reassign it. So then after that, now technically person at village is agate. Exactly. So this is one way that we can change the value of a specific, or change the value of a value, I guess, because this is technically a key value pair. The other thing that I wanted to quickly touch on is that these values can be anything, any data, any valid data type. Because, so for example, I made this a string. This could be an integer. And if I, let's go ahead and do, so to do the sentence, I'm going to do puts half a day. My name is, and then it's going to be hashtag this person at age, I mean, person at name. I'm, oh, sorry, I need to go outside of there. I'm person at age, years old, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so let's go ahead and start with this being a string first. We'll see it work. Perfect. Hoffaday, my name is Leon and I'm 26. If I change this to be an integer, run it again, works exactly the same. If I put an array in here, let's say I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. And put a comma. I could put an array in here. Technically, it says I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because it doesn't make sense to put the array there. But the point I'm trying to make here is this value here can be any valid data type. I could make this true or false. It could be a Boolean. I could say true. It prints out I'm true. Whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as it's a valid data type, then I can put it here. Where it would break is if I put something like, let's say I put something. Now, if I try to run this, sorry, let me go down here. We see undefined local variable method something. This is an error that we've seen a lot. So this basically says, hey, something doesn't exist. Like, what is something? We have to, if we wanted to do something like that, then I can go like something equals Leon. So now if I run this, we can see it says Leon because technically something is a variable that stands for Leon. So the point I'm trying to make here is any valid data type can be placed as the value. It doesn't need to be a string. It doesn't need to be an integer or whatever. Does that make sense with everybody? All right, cool. Feel free, ask questions as needed. Another really cool thing about hashes is we can add on to here as much as we want. So for example, I'm going to explicitly write it here. Let's say I did, um, I don't know, island, Guam. Of course, if I wanted to explicitly add to the hash island Guam, then I could write it there. But if for whatever reason, let's say this is the hash I have. If I wanted to add island Guam in here, the key value pair, I could simply go person at island equals Guam. Now, if I do p person at island, or actually let's p person, let's print out person before and let's print it out after. And let me also comment out that sentence. If I run this, we can see before I did this, we see person is age. We have age is 26, name Leon, village Bargata Heights. After that, I add this on. Technically, like in an array, it's kind of like I'm doing dot push or the shovel. And so now we add island is Guam right to the end. So this is a kind of a cool thing with hashes. We don't need any fancy methods or anything like that or operators to add to a hash. All you have to do is give it the key that you want it to be. As long as that key isn't something that's already there, then we're going to create a new key value pair. And that comes with some things to note though. Because let's say, for example, I did person at, let's say I wanted to do village. Let's say I wanted to reassign what village is. However, I gave it a spelling mistake. I didn't put the E there. So now let me run this. Before it, we see we have age, name, village. After it, we have age, name, village, and then this other misspelled village. So that's something to note, is that because of this super cool functionality of hashes where we can just add on to it as much as we want, if we're not spelling whatever it is, the key exactly right when we're adding it or when we're trying to update something, it's going to create a completely new key value pair. Because technically, this key value pair doesn't exist. There's no village without an E. Because there's none, it's going to create a brand new one. And so that's one thing to note with this, is if you're trying to edit something, edit a specific value, you need to get the key exactly right. If you don't get the key exactly right, you're going to create a completely separate key value pair. Questions about that? Okay, cool. Let me know. And then, okay, so we were able to add to it. We were able to edit a specific thing. And then I'm also going to show you guys how to delete something. So let's go person dot delete. And then we're going to pass in to delete. We're going to pass in parentheses. So delete is a function that's built into Ruby. So we can go, what's it called? Dot delete and then parentheses, and we're going to go this symbol. So for example, colon age. I don't want people to know my age, so I'm going to delete it. If we run this, we see before it, we have name, or we have age, name, village. After it, all we have is name and village. This dot delete is something that we can use for hashes, but we could also use this for arrays. Within our shopping list, this is the exact same function that we used. If we do dot delete, if we did fruits dot delete banana, it would do the exact same thing. It would delete the banana. Same thing. So there are functions that go for both arrays and hashes. Okay, cool. So let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and explicitly say what we're doing here. So here we're adding to the hash. Here I'm gonna change this one to be village equals Jonia. We're technically what we're doing here is reassigning what the village key value pair is. And then finally here, we're deleting the key value pair for age. Cool. Questions about any of these? Kind of basically what we're doing here is we're manipulating a hash. Yes, Junior.
Quick question. So when you're doing the dot delete and you're doing the parentheses,
Mhm.
it's not square brackets. Is that usually the case when you call a method? It's always going to be the parentheses. It's not going to use a bracket.
Exactly. So technically what we're doing here is we're passing in an argument. So in the same way, if I go back to here where we're doing this, when we call this function some array passing in numbers, the same exact thing, we're calling delete and we're passing in age. That's the reason why it's parentheses versus square brackets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. Any other questions? Great question. All right, cool. I'm gonna slack out an exercise. Cool. Exercise. All right, cool. You guys' exercise, I want you guys to modify your person hash, whatever hash it is that you guys have. And I want you to add a new key value pair for favorite food. You're going to update your hobby, and then you're going to remove your age. So basically, you're going to do exactly everything that I just did here. And I'll share the code for this. Slack example of manipulating a hash. All right, cool. You guys are good to share your screen and try it out. A hash segregation function. Hey Matt, what you're doing is actually it's perfectly fine. It's right. It's correct. But what I would recommend to make it easier for you to see the before and after is go ahead and like let's say on line 8 and then on line like 11, just do P person. So that way you can see what it looks like before you manipulate it, and then after you do it, go ahead and do it again to see what it looks like after. And so go ahead and run this again. I don't know how you're doing that. I don't know. I don't know how you keep opening up the like paint. I don't know. Do like escape? I don't know. There you go. I don't. What did you do there? Make sure you remember it. You don't have to tell me, but you got to figure out how you keep changing it to be a paint. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I saw it. There you go. You can see it. So now you can go ahead and do the. So you did edit. So now do create. Yeah, perfect. You got create and then finally the delete. Right. You guys get to stop sharing your screen. We are going to go through something. We're going to go through the next kind of thing dealing with hashes. Go and share. While we're waiting for Lana and Kiko, what do you guys think of hashes? Or what do you guys, yeah, what do you guys think of hashes so far? It's all right. You guys like it? I like arrays better. I don't know. What do you guys think? So and
I,
so.
I don't know how to feel about it yet.
I got you.
Be-
First
Yeah.
time seeing it. All
Like
right.
maybe if I see it in an application, that it would make more sense, but I don't know.
Yeah, here. Why don't I show? Actually, I'm gonna show you in an application after we go through the next two things that we're gonna talk about. I'll show you because it'll make a lot more sense. And actually, you guys can see it like in the real world, I guess. Okay, cool. So the next thing that I want to go through with you guys is how we can loop through this data. So we're gonna use my favorite loop. We're gonna use an each loop. And so in each loop with a hash is going to look almost exactly the same as with an array, but it's going to look slightly different. And so to show you guys, just to do a quick review of it, I would do something like fruits dot each do, and then be fruit. I'm going to do end, and then from there I can do like p fruit. And if I do this, it should print out each fruit, exactly like what we expect. And now I can manipulate or do whatever to each thing. With a hash, it's going to look very similar. And so we're going to go, for example, person dot each do. And then from there, the key value. So the difference here is going to be what we put in the pipes. So what we're going to put in the pipes, it could be whatever you want, but I'd recommend do key value. And then I'm going to do my end. And I'm going to recommend doing key and value because that's exactly what it is. It's going to be key value. So for example, if I do P and then up to make sure that we can clearly see it, I'm going to say key colon key. And then I'm going to do the same thing for value. If I run this, we can see the key is age, the value is 26. The key is name, the value is Leon. The key is village, the value is Baragata Heights. And so basically the way that in each loop, each loop works with a hash is it is looping through each, it's not necessarily called an index anymore, but each key value pair. And then from there, we're assigning this, like, I guess, placeholder variable key to whatever it is, however many times through the loop we are. So for example, the first time we get key is age, value is 26. So that's exactly why we see that. And then the next time through, it's going to be name and Leon, which is why we see that. And kind of maybe a better way to visualize it is if I do P, and then I'm just going to put some lines. I love using this thing where I just put lines. We can see now we can clearly see exactly each time through the loop. Because every time the loop ends, I'm telling it to put a bunch of lines. So that way we can see it. So the first time through the loop, it's this. Second time through the loop, it's this, etc., etc., etc. Does this make sense with everybody, the way that each loop is working? Yeah. Okay. So I could even do, if I wanted to print this out nicer, maybe I'll comment this out so that way you guys can have that too. But maybe I can do like puts, and I'm gonna go key dot capitalize colon hashtag value. And so now if we print this out, we can see age is 26, name Leon, village Barragata Heights, whatever, etc. There isn't a nice reason for me to kind of print this out in a sentence this way right now. But one thing that we can do is I can capitalize the first letter of the key and I can print it out in a nice like kind of key value pair format like this. And so that's kind of what I did here. Cool. So I'm going to give you guys an exercise to do pretty much the exact same thing. Let's go ahead and go here, paste that. Exercise. All right, and I will give you guys my example. All right, cool. So you guys' exercise is to write a program that iterates over your person hash and prints out each key value pair in a nice format, basically, nicely formatted. All right, cool. You guys are good to share your screen and try that out. Or actually, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Before you guys do that, I want to show you guys one more thing so that way I can let you guys work for a little bit. So the final thing that I want to show you guys with regards to hashes is kind of the way that it'll be used in the real world. And so I'm going to comment all that out and down here at the bottom. So the way that it'll look in the real world is you're going to see something more like this. So the way this works is we have an array. The outermost data is an array. And then each index of that array is a hash. So we have a hash. We have technically 3 hashes within this specific array. And so as a test, before I have you guys do that each loop, how do you think, I want someone to help me print out this, Aldous Huxley, that author. How could I print that out? What do you guys think? I haven't showed you guys, but I've kind of showed you guys both arrays and hashes. So how could we put it together to print this out? Because this is the way real data will look. Something like this. Any thoughts? And choose someone random to just try it out. Ron, what do you think? What are you thinking, man? What's going on here? No wrong answer.
Man, this is a real cluster right here. I'm
Yeah.
still like scanning through it. Um, okay, let me
So,
see.
so another thing that I want, so we're going to do this together, Ron. And my hint or my
Hmm.
recommendation for you is we do not, I'm not expecting you to be like, oh yeah, do this exactly to get this exact value. Let's start from the outermost layer. And we know how to deal with an array. So like, for example, how would I print out this? Like, how do I print out a specific index? Maybe. What would I do? Let's start with that level.
That would be. This is three. What are these called again?
Indexes?
In this array, there's three indexes, right?
Technically, yeah. Yes.
Okay, and then each index it starts with 0,
Mm-hmm.
1, 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be
I want to print this one.
library,
Yep.
bracket. We're doing Aldous Huxley, right?
Correct. But don't worry about, I don't care to get this exact value. I want to get this whole thing right here. I want to get that whole line. How would I get?
That'd be 1.
All right, let's try it out. Perfect. Okay, so now we can see we got the first index, which is technically the second hash right here, which is all of this. Now, okay, next person actually. Thank you, Ron, for helping me there. I want to get more people involved. How can I print out this? I'm gonna choose some random if no one talks in like 5 seconds.
Put it on the chat if you want to check. I don't know how to exactly word it, but um shoot.
I got your thing. Let's try it out.
Okay, so if oh sorry, it's not two. It'll be or try it out, see if it works. I don't know.
Yeah, we can try it.
Okay, never mind.
No worries, no worries. I like where you're going with it. I do like where.
Okay, so
So,
we
but
like
let's start here. Let's start with this one. So we know that when I do this, and we're gonna use Yukiko. So when I do this, when I do p library at one, square brackets one, I get this hash.
okay.
From the previous exercises where we are just printing out stuff within this hash, how can I get this? For example, I'm gonna pull this out. Let's even simplify this even more.
I have one quick question before you do that.
Yes.
Is the title colon Brave New World the first index?
So
Sorry, is that
technically,
considered one whole, like, you get what I'm saying, item?
yeah, yeah. It's a key value pair.
Okay. So
Key
okay,
value.
that's right.
So okay, so actually my question to you, how can I print out author? If I do p test, it gives me this. Exactly what we saw when we did that one over there. I want to print this. I want to print all this Huxley. How do I do it?
I sent it in the chat. You can copy and paste.
Let me take a look. Where is it at? Okay, so you're doing the one up here. Let's try that. You're
Yeah.
close. You're close. You're getting closer.
Mm,
Okay, so disregard the library one. Let's go back to just a regular hash. I want to print out this, all this Huxley. How do we do that? How are we doing? Okay, okay, let's go back here. Let's even go back. How can I print out age? I want to print out 26. How can I do that, Kiko?
Oh,
How do I do it? What do I do?
is it a semicolon? I'm missing a semicolon
What do I write? Never mind what you have.
or a colon. Sorry.
Tell me what to write.
Okay. So it'll be P
E,
P or P person
E person.
bracket
What kind of brackets?
square.
Square brackets.
Square bracket age or square bracket uh
You're right there.
I think it's just age square bracket. Age in the square bracket.
So just like this.
Yeah.
Super close.
Or sorry, colon then age.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. If I run this, perfect. We get that 26. Using that
Okay.
exact same idea, how can I get all this Huxley?
So it'll be P
Don't overthink it. Think exactly what we did up.
P test
Test.
P or sorry, P title
No, no, test, test,
no,
P test.
P library.
No, 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 let's do the test one. Let's do the test one. Never mind that library.
Oh, we're on test. Okay,
Yeah.
P test
Test,
uh bracket.
brackets.
Okay, count the
No,
in
never
count
mind
the
the index. We're not doing indexes because this isn't an array.
oh, you can just put author.
Just author?
What does it have to, I guess, yeah. Try it out.
Right, that's right. All right, we got an error.
Okay, local variable author name. Okay.
How do we fix? Same thing. You had it up here. You
Oh, the colon, I guess.
correct, correct.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, cool. Aldous Huxley. With that being said now, thank you, Kiko. How back here, anyone except for Kiko and Ron, how can I make this print Aldous Huxley? I'm gonna grab someone random. Matt, how can I do it? You got it? Kiko solved this part. So we know that this, with this exact same thing, because look, we can see this right here is this exactly. If you do test colon author, you get Aldous Huxley. With that in mind, we have this when we do this. So what do we need to do here in order to just get this? We're right there, Matt. Take us home. You got it.
Um, would it also be um brackets and then colon author?
Let's try it out. Bam! Get that. You guys are beasts. Got teamwork right there. Okay. So I'm going to delete this. Someone help me print out 194. Someone besides those three now. Or, yeah, no, someone besides those three. So Adrian or Junior, how can I print out 194?
P library bracket 2, and then another bracket colon pages.
Let's try it out. Perfect. All right. Okay. So we kind of get where this is going, right? Everyone's kind of getting a feel for it. Adrian, do you want to here? I'm going to give you an example. So let's get everyone. Adrian, I want 1984.
P library um 0 sorry, brackets it, yeah, bracket 0,
Okay.
and then um brackets colon title.
Perfect. Okay, cool. All right, so we've all done kind of one thing. You guys are killing it. I think you guys are definitely get the pattern here. So with nested data, the way it works, so this is nested data because we have an inner or we have an outer array, and then we have these like hashes that are nested within this array. And so with nested data, the way it works is we're going to grab whatever variable it is. Then from there, we go in one level. Okay, cool. I want this. So I'm going to grab this entire index. We know it's an index because it's an array. So I'm going to grab index, for example, 1. And from there, now I can see if I do that, we get the entire, like we get this hash of key value pairs. Once I get to this hash, now let's say I wanted Aldous Huxley. I know it's a key value pair. It's not an array. So with key value pairs, the way that we access it is we do brackets and then whatever the name of the key is. So that's why I would then go there. So that's why it's library at one at author. Does this make sense to everybody? All right, cool. So finally, to show you guys what real data, like how it looks like in the real world with this in mind, with kind of, I guess, this in mind right here, let me pull up, let me turn off my server. I'm going to show you guys something. And I'm going to pull up, where's my stuff? I'm going to go to one of the projects that we're going to build in the future. One of them that Lana's class actually worked on. Oh, CD, Chamorro chips, practice. I see there's an Alana folder. What is in the Alana folder? Oh, we'll not do that one. Let's do, actually, Adrian was asking me about a blog. Here's a blog API. So I'm going to, let me open it up real quick. Let me make sure it's set up properly. All right, cool. Let's go into, actually, yeah, let's go to locals and check something real quick. All right, cool. We do have that. Slash authors. Go to my browser. Post 3000 slash authors. Oh, I don't have anything in here. Dang it. Let's find a different one. Sorry. Let me grab it. One that I know has some stuff. Maybe the blog. Let's go Guam Landmarks API. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. All right, cool. Let's turn this back on. I'm at 3000. Are you serious? No, that's not nice. What do I have in there? Oh, I know what it is. Okay. Slash API. I think it's slash V1. Sorry, guys. All right, cool. Let's try that again. All right, cool. Perfect. So here is what I wanted to get to. Here's an example of what it's going to look like in the real world. We see we have an overall hash, overall an array of a bunch of objects. These objects are technically landmarks. That's why I need to go to landmarks. So a landmark has an ID, it has a name, it has a description, an image URL, a location, and then we can see when this was created and when it was updated. This was back in April. This is when Lana was in class. And so this is the way that data is going to look like in the real world oftentimes. So I just wanted to show you guys that because technically what we're doing here is exactly what we're going to get to come the future. So that's why hashes and specifically arrays of hashes is a really important topic. It's going to be really important because this is ultimately what we're going to be using to kind of to pass around and save and deal with data. So yeah, so when you guys ask, this is what it's gonna go, where we're getting to. Okay, questions about hashes. Junior, you look like you got a question.
Maybe a little bit off topic, but is that how they came up with the word hashtag?
No, I don't even know, actually. So technically, I don't want to confuse you guys, but technically a hash is something called a JSON object. So in other languages, you'll hear different words, but technically this is like the let's say the language that this is JSON, JavaScript object notation. I don't really know where the word hash came from. Hash is specific to Ruby. In Python, I think these are called dictionaries. In JavaScript and in most other things, this is called a JSON object. Yeah, sorry, I don't know where hashtag came from. But yeah, not to confuse you guys, but this is a hash. For all reasons that we're using, this is a hash. In the future, we're going to think of it as an object, as a JSON object, but we'll get to that in the future. Questions, comments about hashes, nested arrays and hashes, etc. Okay, cool. Um, okay, so I did give you guys that exercise, and the final one that I'm going to give you guys, the final exercise that I'm going to give you guys is I'm going to show you guys one last thing, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll share that exercise, and you guys can do it on your own time later, tomorrow or whenever. So the last thing that I quickly wanted to share with you guys, and let me just turn this off. All right, cool. Is how to loop through this data. So I briefly just showed you guys that we can use an each loop to loop through a hash. And so in that same sense, we could also do the same thing with this nested array and hash. So one thing we can do is, for example, and let me make this bigger, I can go library.eachDo, and it's going to be, let's say this each one in here technically is like a book. So I'm going to call it book. It makes sense to me to call it a book. And then I'm going to go end. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to print out book. I just want to see what is book. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be each one of these indexes because that's the way each loops work with hashes. I mean, each loops work with arrays, but I just want to verify. Perfect. So book is going to be this entire hash, and then this entire hash, and then this one. Perfect. And so the next thing I can do is I can nest a loop in here, and I can do a whole nother loop, and I can do, for example, book dot each do, and then I'm going to go key value end. And now let me print out key. And actually, we'll use that exact same syntax that we're using up here because it was nicer. I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna put that right there. And let's see what happens here. I run this, perfect. We get the title, the author, and the pages for each book. And maybe to make it even nicer, I'm gonna go puts, and I'm gonna put a whole bunch of lines. So now we can see the title, the author, and the pages kind of all separated. Maybe actually a nicer way to do it this. Let's do this. So now they're all kind of separated together. So here's the title, author, and pages, title, author, and pages, title, author, and pages. And so what I did was I used an each loop to loop through to loop through the array, the overall array. And then once I'm in the array, I know that I have a hash. And so I can do that other each loop with key value for hashes to do the exact same thing. And then I just added this puts with a line to make it print nicer. Cool. And I'll share this with you guys, and I'll let you guys kind of mess with this as well later. Okay. Create nested each loops to loop through and print out each key value pair. Okay, cool. There's no rush for this. I haven't given you guys time to mess with it, so don't worry, it'll take time. Really the one that I want you guys to focus on first is this exercise as you guys have time of just looping through a regular hash. Once you get good with this and you feel comfortable, then you can mess with this. And if by tomorrow you're not comfortable with this, feel free. This is more of a, I'm gonna even put that, this is a bonus. Bonus. this is really the exercise here that I want you guys to focus on for today. This is kind of getting more advanced, and this is something we'll touch on in the coming days. Cool. Does that make sense with everybody? All right, cool. All right. Let's see. All right, cool. There was a couple other things that we'll go through, but we'll do that tomorrow. It's already 9:17, so we can go ahead and wrap up. Does anybody have any questions? I know I keep asking, but just want to verify. Have any questions? Want clarification on anything before I let you guys go? Junior, you said yeah? Okay, all right, you're good. Okay, cool. All right. Other than that, I'll hang out for a little bit if anyone wants to go through anything specific. Other than that, I will let you guys go. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night. See you guys.
Yep.
You guys.
Good night, guys.
All right.
Oh, sir, I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Can I just stream it?
Oh, yeah.
It's about the one we did with the scores.
Yep. Share screen. Let's figure it out.
So when I do I'd say the thing, it gives me this error, and I was stuck on it for a while, and I don't really know what to do.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. My question to you, what is score? What is score? Tell me what that is.
Uh,
And go ahead and take a look at your code and see where you see score. Where do you see score in here? What is it? Yeah. So what is this value?
uh,
So go ahead and start at line 1 and then continue down. See if you find the word score. Where's score?
in the
Parameter. Yep.
parameter.
It's the parameter. Correct. So where is this coming from? Where does this value come from?
Uh,
It comes from the bottom somewhere.
um,
What do you think?
this one, this one.
Yep. So basically the way this works is you created an array called scoring system, and we see there's the value of it. From there, when you call the function grade students, you call it passing in an argument. For this part of the course, you could call this a parameter. We pass for like simplicity, both of these technically, we're just going to call them parameters. In the future, this is technically an argument, but whatever. For this specific case, it's the same thing. So you call the function grade students, and grade students takes in one parameter. So for that reason, you have to give it a parameter. So the parameter you're giving it is scoring system, which ultimately is right there. So that means that after it gets to this line, after the computer gets to line 23, it's like, okay, cool, let's go find a function somewhere in this file that's called grade students. So that's why it's going to go and it's going to search everywhere. And finally, on line 1, it found here's where grade students is. It's like, okay, cool, here's grade students. We're passing in scoring system. Scoring system's coming from right there. So technically, score is going to be this array. Technically it's coming from here, but like under the hood, it's basically this value. So score is this array of values. With that being said, you're saying if score is greater than or equal to 92, do this, whatever, etc. With that being said, sorry. So what you're saying, and here I'm going to use text. Maybe it'll be easier. You're saying if an array of 100, 90, etc. is less than or equal to 92, then do something. So that's basically what you're saying there. Obviously, there's more numbers, but that's what you're saying on line 5. Does that make sense? And I guess my question to you is, can you compare an array to a number or to an integer? No,
No.
correct, correct. You cannot. The reason, so whenever we're comparing things, they have to be the same data type. So basically, we have to be comparing, for example, 100 to 92 or 90 to 92. We cannot compare the array of 190 to 92. So you already have access to each of those values because you have an each loop here and you're doing score.each do grades. So technically grades is going to be each value when this loop, each loop is looping. So let's just change score to grades and let's see what happens. So don't change that one. So we need that one. Do you know why we need that?
For these ones.
Kind of, yeah. So we need score dot each do because score is going to be the array. If we change this to grades, it's not going to work because it's like, what is grades? Grades, that doesn't make sense. So we need that to be score, and all of these ones are going to be grades because we need them to be the individual grades. Basically, we need them to be 100, 90, 80, whatever, whatever, whatever. Okay, try this out.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so basically,
So the problem was just these ones,
technically, yeah.
or
It's basically that this condition, all of your conditions, 5, 7, 9, and 11, they were all trying to compare the array score, which is this ultimately, to integers, which it's like, hey, you cannot compare those. That's why, like, if you scroll up a little bit in the error down here, you'll see it's trying to say undefined method greater than or equal to for array. You cannot compare two arrays, or you cannot compare array. Like it doesn't make sense. Like if an array is greater than or equal to 92, like an array, you cannot like there are two different data types. They don't compare, basically. Does that make sense?
yes.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, all you need to do was change it to be each individual grade, technically.
Oh, okay.
Cool. You have other questions about this?
Uh, no, I know how to do the 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 A plus and A minus. It's just I got stuck on the this part.
I got you. Cool. Well, I'd say take a break. Maybe tomorrow, just take a look at it, make sure you understand it, and then we can kind of go from there. And I can give you another example of this for you to mess around with later.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got you. Any other questions before you head out?
No.
All right, cool. All right, man. You have a great night.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
See you.